Welcome to Ascend with Amelia, the podcast designed to equip the next generation with the skills, knowledge, and insights needed to turn their career dreams into reality. My name's Amelia, and I've been in corporate America for 20 years. I've worked across 4 different career types, as well as 2 different industries, and I have been where you are. I have been a young adult who had no idea what I wanted to do when I grew up and wasn't sure where I fit into all of the vast opportunities that were out there. If that sounds familiar, then this is the podcast for you. But I won't be doing it alone. I have teamed up with several like-minded, experienced professionals who are just as passionate as I am about mentoring the next generation. We're going to talk through things like their journeys and how they got to where they are today, as well as things like a day in the life of various careers and industries, and so much more. So buckle up, take notes, and get ready to ascend towards your career goals. Today's guest is proof that you don't have to come from a big city to dream big. Dr. Michelle Buggs grew up in Lake Dallas, Texas, a small town outside of the DFW Metroplex, but she's made a huge impact in the world of higher education. From being super involved in college, like leading student orgs, studying abroad, and repping Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, to earning not 1, not 2, but 3 degrees, she's always been about more than just the classroom. Dr. Buggs has built a powerful career helping college students find their path, building programs that create equity, and leading with purpose. Now she's the Dean of Academic Affairs at Collin College, and she's still passionate about mentoring, leadership, and uplifting others as she continues to climb. If you've ever wondered how to go from small town student to campus leader to PhD, or just how to find your voice in college, this is the episode for you. Let's welcome the amazing Dr. Michelle Buggs. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. We're so glad to have you here. Can we start with, did you know growing up what you wanted to do, or did that come a little later?
Later, absolutely. Growing up, I remember wanting to be a nurse and a teacher, which I think is very typical of children. And then going into undergrad, I was business accounting. But going into higher ed was not like a aha moment until I was about to graduate college, actually. So
that's a great point that you say that. I have gone into different schools and tried to coach people on the different career types that are out there. And most youth focus on the careers that are very out there already: nurses, doctors, lawyers, policemen, firemen. But there's so many, or I shouldn't say but, and there are so many other opportunities that are out there. So thank you for sharing that. You didn't know what you wanted to do when you grew up, but you kind of, as life went on, kind of figured it out. How close is your career path to what you imagined?
I don't know if I don't really know if what I actually imagined. I know that I needed to get into something where I could take care of myself. And I know I wanted to help people. But the field I am now was never anything that I actually imagined or knew about. But it is absolutely where I know I need to be.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that you knew a few things about yourself. You knew that you wanted to be able to help people. And that's huge. You wanted to be able to help people, and you found an industry and a career field that allowed you to do that, which I think is huge for young adults nowadays. Just find out what you want and what you are good at, and then that'll trickle into what you want to do for a career. I love that. Were there expectations placed on you, either spoken or unspoken, with regard to what you're doing now?
I don't know if in the field, I don't know if there were expectations other than just being excellent, going in it with understanding the purpose and the values and having good ethical standards and morals, knowing, the difference between right and wrong, what's legal and not legal, all of those things. And that's a lot of different career fields, but and some of those expectations I would say are unspoken. But I think those are professionally, those are like the expectations that we had, and just, especially when I went to grad school, doing right by the field, doing right by the students and the people that we serve and all of that. My mom and my grandmother would say the expectation was to be the person that they raised me to be. And I take that with me every day for sure. So,
absolutely. To do what you're going to do and do it with excellence. I love that. Michelle, were there any pivotal moments that changed the way you saw yourself or your future?
Yes. The biggest pivotal moment I would say was when I studied abroad. And that was the summer before my senior year. And I was majoring in accounting at the time. And I think I was just about to change into business administration because I got a C on an accounting 2 class. I think I got a C in an accounting 2 class, and my mom was like, "Yeah, I'm not paying for C's, so you got to figure something out."
That sounds familiar.
You got to figure something out, and because clearly that's not the field that you're supposed to be in if you're not doing well. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. But so that was a pivotal moment for sure. Was telling her I got a C and her telling me I needed to find something else. But when I studied abroad, I was really involved, like you said in my bio, really involved in student orgs, and I was mostly interested in doing that. I had an internship doing PR in London, and there was I was in the midst of a big thing that was happening in the city, and it just kind of made me realize what I wanted to do with my time and what I was passionate about. And I was, going into business, but I was really interested in the student org stuff. I was excited about helping my fellow students and, planning things and organizing events and fundraising and doing all this fun stuff. And when I got back, my mentor was like, well, you could do this as a career, right?
It's a whole thing.
And I was like, wait, what? He's like, yeah, you could be me. I was like, oh yeah. And so that was like my really big pivotal moment, was this whole summer of being abroad and working in this one field, and then realizing I wanted to do something else. And how do I get into that back home when I really only have a year left? And so, luckily enough, going into grad school, it was fairly, I would say, easy transition, but because I knew what I wanted to do, I knew where to look. And that made the research application process a lot easier because I was pretty refined in what I was looking for.
Michelle, you mentioned something super critical that I want every young adult, teenager to realize. You said yes to something, even though you weren't sure that was something that you wanted to do. You said yes to a fantastic opportunity overseas, right? And it was in what was the field again?
What
was the internship?
Public relations.
Public relations. So you went overseas for public relations. You weren't sure if you would like it or not, but you tried it.
I tried it.
And then you trying it then opened the door to what you really wanted to do. You did something in public relations. You realized this isn't for me, but then it opened the doors. And I feel like a lot of students, heck, a lot of adults too, they say no before they try, not knowing that saying yes may open the door to the path that you should be going down. So I appreciate you sharing that. Can you tell us a little bit more about the study abroad program? I always wanted to do that, but I never got around to it, or I thought it would be too expensive. How did you do that?
Yeah, I got the abroad bug a little early. I did a program called People to People when I was in 8th grade. Okay. So I spent 3 weeks in Europe with a bunch of other kids. It was absolutely a privilege to be able to go. And I thank my mom very much for doing what she needed to do to help me get there. And so when I was in undergrad, I didn't retake any classes. And so I was ahead of my coursework, and I had some space in my degree program to do an internship or whatever. So my best friend was going abroad, and I was like, well, I got some time. I'll look too. And so I did. She was in Paris. I was in London. And it was amazing experience. My roommate, she was a soror from Howard.
Okay.
And so we lived together, and she had an internship and I had mine. It was it was such a life-changing experience because you learn how to be really independent, even learning how to use a subway system.
We don't have that here in Texas.
Yeah, or how, well, but if you go to New York or you go anywhere with public transportation, like there's a similar way to navigate. So I definitely learned how to be more independent, how to manage my money because I was in charge of myself over there. How they eat different, not a lot of seasoning in the food over there.
And I heard that they typically eat their biggest meal in the morning, then a lighter meal for lunch, and then a really light meal for dinner. And Americans are the complete opposite.
Yes. And walking everywhere. That was great. Learning how people saw me as an American and a Black American over there compared to like what I experienced here. So it was 2.5 months. Got to travel to Europe a couple times, and but I really learned that I could do something on my own, and that's very freeing. And then again, it gave me kind of that freedom or understanding of myself that okay, well then maybe I can go move away for grad school, and that's what I did. I went to Ohio for grad school. And I ended up coming back home, but I got some time away, and that was great.
You got that experience, which is huge. We're going to pull on this thread just a little bit longer. What would you say to anybody that's out there saying, oh, well, I can't afford that. There's no way I can do that and have those experiences and have that independence because I don't have the money for it. What would you say?
Oh, that's such a good question. So, one, I got financial aid in the form of scholarships. So there are many scholarships available for studying abroad, and I would encourage anyone to look at that. And if you have not ever taken out a loan, so that was my situation. My parents did not want me taking out loans for undergrad, so they invested in me for that. But they said if I wanted to go study abroad, that was something I had to pay for. So I found scholarships and I took out one loan. And that loan actually helped me because it was a federal loan and it helped build my credit. So when I went to grad school, and actually I didn't know that it was adding interest on it. So I didn't pay for it because I wasn't paying on it when I was in grad school. And so when I got out of grad school, I was like, what is this extra money?
Yes.
So that was a hard lesson for me to learn.
Interest,
but yes,
folks.
it's called interest. It's called interest. But it did, again, help me on the back end because I didn't have a lot in my name at 22, 24 when I finished grad school. So paying on that helped a lot and helped build credit to my, on my credit score and all that. And so, I would say for anybody, there are resources out there at your institution, in the community. A lot of community organizations have funding. And don't be afraid of a loan if it's the worthwhile investment and you can make a plan to pay it back.
That's huge, the making a plan to pay it back. I think a lot of people, including adults, get loans and they don't have that plan.
Yes.
They don't account for the interest. They don't account for, the vast amount of additional money that's going to be tacked on if for whatever reason they give you 15 years to pay it back. That's not good. That's not good. But okay, so let's circle back. We talked about kind of a little bit of your experiences through college, etc. Let's talk about your actual job today. If you had to describe your job in the simplest way possible, but still make it sound cool, how would you do it?
I don't know if it's going to sound cool, but the only thing I can think of actually comes from my godsons because this is how they define what I do. I'm basically a principal, but at a college.
Fair. And what does that entail for you?
So my title is dean. I'm a dean. I'm a dean at a community college, which is a little bit different than a dean at a university, at a four-year university. But my job, basically I oversee, a division of faculty who teach core classes in the state. So
core classes, really quick. Core
Yes.
classes are things like English, algebra, history,
Yes.
those things before
Yes.
you get into your major.
yeah, yes, which is huge. We have in our state many people who go into higher education, and so at a community college, a 2-year institution, there's constant rollover. So our faculty are teaching quite a bit, large number of students in different spaces at different levels, and it comes with a lot of work, dealing with people, dealing with students, dealing with faculty. I work on a lot of projects, process, policies, things like that. I'm in the community representing my institution. So yeah, it's a busy job. Some days busier than others. But it's really good work and I love it.
Now, this is really fascinating to me because one of the job roles or career types that we talked about that most kids, most teen or young adults know about are teachers. But when everybody thinks about a teacher, they think about, or when everybody thinks about a teacher or being in education, they think about being in the classroom.
Yes.
And you're not in the classroom.
No, not full time.
Not full time.
Yes.
So that's just one of many examples of how even if you are or you do want to go into an industry or a career type that's known to most, there's still so many different nuances and opportunities even within that. Because you're in education, but you're a dean. So you barely step foot in the classroom, and you're working more with your faculty and with the students. So I love to hear that. What is the most exciting part of your job?
The most exciting part of my job, this may sound really nerdy, but it's just for me. It's for me. I love when I complete a project. I love it. It just brings it full circle. And I get to work with a lot of different people in that process. So I've learned how to bring an idea to fruition and, get it from start to finish, and not just start and to a point where people know about it, but it's fully implemented. And when something can be fully implemented or in our language, institutionalized, then that's really exciting because I know I've made a good change.
Fantastic. So we know that you're in the education industry. Are there any things that your particular school is doing to kind of shake up things in the education space?
Yeah. So one of the things I learned when I came from because I started at a 4-year institution and I moved to a 2-year institution, and community colleges are fantastic for local development. And so we have, you explained core, but we also have workforce, where those are programs that are meeting industry needs. So HVAC and automotive and construction and all the things that
More trades.
So some things that we take for granted, I think, at times, but are very stable in our economy. Those are areas where I would say my institution, but also just community colleges as a whole, have a great opportunity and have taken advantage of that opportunity in building really great partnerships with companies in the area, getting students jobs right away or even before they graduate. I mean, that's an amazing thing to be able to brag upon when people sometimes don't even know where to start in a field, and they're like, oh well, I really wanted to do this, but if you go into this field, you may have a job like even before you finish,
making good money,
making great money, and you will have a career for a long time. So that, I think, is like one of the most exciting things that I've learned about, but it's great to see it like actually happening.
So 2 things I wanted to say about that. So one, I think a lot of students that do want to go to college, they don't think of community college. They want to go start straight out and go into a 4-year college. From my perspective, and what I've been seeing a lot lately, is people are wanting to save money. The same core college or classes that you take in a 4-year university are going to be the same core classes that you take in a community college. And you have a tighter community of people probably that you've known, because there's a lot of people that are in that same community that you've, played sports with or been in band together or what have you, that are going to that school. So there's a lot of benefits from going to a 2-year school. So kind of going back to the workforce development or trade schools, that's huge too. And we've talked about it a little bit on this program before, that, college may not be for everybody. And there are a ton of trades out there that will also allow you to take care of your family. That will also,
Absolutely.
in some cases, trade workers make more than people that went to college.
Yes.
And it's hands-on. It's a really great opportunity. So that's really cool to know that a lot of community colleges are starting to hone in on that a little bit more.
Yeah, it's what we're known for. It's truly what we're known for. And we're known for teaching. So even on the core front, we hire faculty to teach. So our faculty are, and that's part of what I do, is I'm like in the classroom observing and making sure our standards are being met, because the students that come are we want them to learn so that they can transition successfully into a 4-year institution program or straight out into the field, that they know how to read and write and add and understand a little bit of history and government and some basic sciences or whatever the case may be, that can help them actually function in society. But our faculty are there to actually educate and teach. And that is a bit of a difference with the 4-year institution, is that yes, they do teach, but the focus tends to be more on research and kind of that upward development, versus like making sure that at that core level
You understand the basics.
Yes. So it all anywhere you go, you're definitely going to learn, but sometimes the difference is the focus on the student and the intentionality in how something is being taught. That definitely matters for sure.
Fantastic. So how is your particular company different from its competitors?
I would say in my industry, location matters a lot. So, again, a community college, I'm in a certain county, and my county is, I would say, a pretty privileged county, if you will. So it's still growing. We are funded in part by taxes. So that tax rate matters. And so what the community invests in the college is able to then turn around and use to the benefit. So, what that investment allows us to pay and hire for higher quality faculty, which I would say is definitely a difference in some levels. So I think we tend to brag a lot about the quality of our faculty, and I think that's our biggest investment. I know it's our biggest investment, but I think it's our biggest area that we can brag for sure. I would say we also we have different levels of programs, so certificates, 2-year degrees, 4-year degrees, and degrees that are very specific to what our area needs. So one of the things is that when we have a degree, we have to make sure that we're not putting other programs in a bad space, right?
Okay.
So we have to make sure let them know, hey, we're adding this program to our listing. Is that going to cause any kind of like significant competition? And that has to go through the state to make sure that we get the okay for that. So we can't just throw up any kind of degree. A lot of institutions have teaching degrees or education degrees, but the type may matter. So, they may have K-12 in this area, or now we're adding K-12 in this area, a different area or different focus. So, so that tends to matter too. So I think the types of programs that we have are definitely helping our area, our metroplex, if you will, a lot. But again, community colleges we tend to kind of stick to our areas. And I think that makes us competitors, but in a different kind of way.
Yeah. And I think it makes it more comfortable for the students, more comfortable for them to then transition into to start somewhere where you're around a lot of people who kind of, went to the same schools as you, had access to the same things as you kind of get to a point where you're comfortable with your surroundings so that you can focus on the foundational basic concepts. Yes. And you're not kind of, freaking out from a social perspective.
Yes.
That'll help you kind of like a building block to the next step.
Yes, absolutely.
Tell me, is your job a typical 9 to 5, or do you have more control and flexibility over your schedule?
It was an 8 to 5.
Okay.
8 to 5 with lunch hour. So I go into the office.
Boo.
I know.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Well, it's I think with COVID, all of that. Actually, I was back in the office 2 months in.
Wow. Essential worker.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. But I think from a response standpoint, it was a decision by my leadership to make sure that where everyone else was closed, we were open. And on the back, in the midst of it, it was not fun all the time. But on the back end, I think it helped us respond a lot easier to some of the things that we saw, after COVID, kind of as we were getting more used to coming out of COVID. So yeah, I'm an 8 to 5 girly anyway. So I like going into the office. I like being around people. But I would say as an administrator, which is what I am, I do have flexibility with my time because I'm actually always on. So if something happened on my campus or whatever, I would need to go and respond, or it would be my responsibility. So I'm over a whole division. That division is my responsibility. If something happens in a classroom, I have to respond. If there's a natural disaster, I have to respond. So I do have flexibility, but that's because there are times where I'm there late.
24 hours.
Yeah. Or I go to a weekend event, I go to an evening event, things like that. So,
and I think one of the things that you said kind of about your personality, you're an 8 to 5 girly anyway. You like being around people. You like going, leaving your house and going somewhere. I think knowing that about yourself made it even easier to choose a career field, right? If you're not a 9 to 5 girly, why would you want to be a nurse? And you have to go into the hospital to treat patients, or why would you want to work in education if you're going to have to go, not have to, get the opportunity to go and be around students and be around faculty. So knowing that you are an outgoing, extroverted person who wants to get out of the house.
Actually, I'm actually not. So just to clarify, I appreciate structure. I like structure. So having a plan. I work Monday through Friday, and I have my weekends off, and that's nice. So I can plan with that schedule. My feel, and I think this is important for people to know, especially about their personality types. I'm actually more of an introverted person, but my career setup requires me to be around people. And so just because I'm introverted doesn't mean that I don't know how to adapt myself to that environment, because it is my career and it's my chosen career. It's what I love to do. And I thrive in both. But I can only do so much at work.
Before you need a break.
Yes. And I'm like, okay, because when it's 5 o'clock, I am out there. I'm out of there unless I have something to do, because I go work out, I go take care of myself, I go decompress, and then I'm ready to go 8 o'clock the next day. So I think knowing, to your point, knowing your personality, the types of environments that help you thrive. Again, I like structure. Some people don't like structure, and so they don't want to be in the office 8 to 5, and they need that flexibility because it helps them think clear. It helps them be more productive. So I think that's it's definitely important that I appreciate. I know that now about myself. I don't know if I really knew that going into the field, but I'm thankful that I'm in a field that helps support that about me.
Which is perfect to say, and thank you for clarifying that, because it shows people that just because you're an introvert doesn't mean you can't work in extroverted environments, and just because you're an extrovert, vice versa.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Thank you for sharing that. So take us behind the scenes. What's a normal day look like for you?
Oh, normal day. Get in the office. I get my tea. I'm a tea girl.
Okay.
Not coffee, tea. I check my email. I go walk around. So it's summertime. It's a little quiet now. Once the semester gets started, it's a little busier. So I walk around, talk with people. It's called, it's been told me lead by walking around. So I like to interact with people. May have meetings. So if I'm working on a project or anything like that, or I'm having to write something or draft something, I'm working on that. Sometimes I need to close my door so I can think a little bit more clearly, put some music on. But it really just kind of varies. I mean, my schedule, it's a academic schedule. So my year starts in August, and midterm is kind of mid-October, and you can tell when it's midterm because people are kind of tense,
Yes.
or like just the mood is a little stiffer. You can tell when people need a break. Then it's a little quieter in December and going into New Year. Then we start back up in January. May comes back down, and summertime is, when we do reviews and appraisals and meetings and all that stuff. So there's an ebb and flow to my schedule year round. And then depending on what I have like assigned to me or things that I've taken up in terms of initiatives or committee leadership or things like that, then that makes it depend on how busy my schedule is.
I think that's a great question for all youth and teenagers to ask themselves and to ask others is what's the ebb and flow of your industry or of your career field. One of my best friends is an accountant, and I feel like she was always in busy season. Always in busy season. I have some other teachers who they're, super stressed throughout the year, but then they get 2 months or 3 months of the summer off, so asking that question when you're thinking of what do you want to be when you grow up, asking what does a day in the life look like? What does a year in the life look like of that particular career field?
Yes.
Thanks for sharing.
I always get, do you have summers off? And as an administrator, I do not. And that's especially if you go into the education field, people in the classroom tend to get summers off. Those of us who are
in administration
do not.
Do you have any cool routines or productivity hacks that you swear by?
I still write things down. Especially my to-do list. I write my to-do list down, and I like crossing things off, and that gives me a good sense of satisfaction. Sometimes I'm better at it than other times, but when I'm really busy, I'm like very diligent about it. So that's definitely one. I would say I love the Microsoft Office tools.
Okay.
Kind of a running joke with my colleagues. But the thing is, I like filing things away, so I know where to go find things. And I'm probably one of a handful of people in my organization who's like really diligent about it. But when people ask for something, they tend to know where to go.
Absolutely.
So I like saving files and making sure that things are documented properly. You might call it type A, but like how things are formatted and all of that. I think that really matters because then people can pay more attention to what it is you're trying to say and not the spelling errors or the lack of organization in a file or whatever the case may be. So
all of that absolutely helps. I mean, it helps bring order to the chaos even in your own brain.
Which is mostly what it is.
Exactly.
It's helping me organize the chaos in my brain so I can think clearly. And especially if I'm in charge of something, I have to make sure that I'm prepared so that I can lead us in a way that's efficient but effective. And those, I think I use those words often, but I think they carry a lot of weight because being efficient with people, with your work and your time is really important because nobody wants to waste time, especially these days, but also effective. What's the goal? What are you trying to get accomplished? And how do you know when it's done? And that I think is really important especially in my field where there's always something that can be clarified, updated, renewed, refreshed, whatever the case may be, fixed, so there's no shortage of work that can be done. And, we don't want to spend years on one project. So I think that's important. And that's definitely something I know I bring bring into my workplace for sure.
Wonderful. Going back to you, I thought it was funny that you said you still write things down. I feel like people make fun of me, people like me and you, for doing that, but it is ridiculously it is very methodical. It helps you think a lot better. It helps you really just kind of put order to your life.
Yes.
I've been writing things down, I think, since I was in high school.
Yes.
When I did apparently have a good memory. Now I definitely have to write things down.
But
So
I think, don't quote me, but I think there's something like psychologically or biologically that when you write something down with your hand, like physically, it helps you recall better. And I tend to recall better when I write something down. I've also noticed that it helps keep my hand in practice, actually being able to write something down, because we're so used to typing.
Fair.
And, if you don't write something down after a while, your hand kind of starts losing that motion. So it's still good practice to be able to know how to physically write something down too.
Agreed. Agreed. I don't think that's ever going to truly go away, although I am getting kind of scared about it with AI and all of that. Maybe writing is going to be a lost art at one point, but
Cursive already is. So,
absolutely. They used to tell me all the time that you're going to have to learn how to do cursive next year, and it never happened. So what's one entry-level job that actually set you up for success, and how did it help?
Okay, I have two actually.
Okay.
If it's okay. So the first is babysitting. I started babysitting when I was 13. It was like a full-time job.
Okay.
Over the summer. It was. I was there from basically 8 to 5.
Oh, wow.
They hired me to babysit their kids. It helped me learn how to be on a schedule, because
Kids
they were on a schedule, a full schedule, and to be attentive. I was responsible for somebody's child. And even going into education, I think about that often when when these students or kids are walking through my doors, I'm responsible for them. So it really kind of built this sense of responsibility for other human beings that has always stayed with me.
That's a great manager quality.
It is
having that ownership and that responsibility for other human beings.
Yes.
Huge management track if you ever want to move up.
Yes, absolutely. The second is after I babysat, I went into the service industry.
Okay.
So my first job was at a pizza place, Pizzetti's Pizza, long time ago. And then I worked at IHOP for 2 years in high school, and I did it for a long time, even after I started working full time, just on the side. But the service industry teaches you a lot about human nature. It teaches you a lot about customer service and how to still work with people when environments can be very challenging. You're tired. You're frustrated. You're hungry.
Even though there's all this food around.
Everybody else getting something, but you can't eat, So
Fair.
But how to still be gracious through those times, it definitely helped build that muscle within me. So I've always been grateful for my experience being a server, being a waitress, because I saw a lot of things, I saw a lot of things. And so, you just know people can be who they are, and you do your job sometimes, keep your head low, but also be gracious and be kind as often as you can.
I'm really appreciative that a lot of times when I ask that question, what's one of the pivotal entry-level roles, that you've had, people typically go to an entry-level role after college. And I think it's so important that you mentioned roles when you were in middle school and when you were in high school, because people just kind of go through life not realizing what they're learning in the moment and how that's going to translate into future jobs and how you interact with people. But to know that you being a babysitter help you with order and structure, which is huge in every career type and industry. To know that, the career of the being in the service industry helped you understand people when you're working with, no matter what industry you're in or what career type you're in, you're going to have to work with other people to different extents, but you're going to have to work with other people. And to just see that started so young for you is huge. And I think all children, I say children, all teens and young adults should be thinking about, what am I doing now in this entry level role? And how is that going to help me in the future?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that teenagers should have some work experience where they can, even if it's 10 hours, 20 hours, be understanding the work, what it's like to work, and how you function in that type of environment, and really build your muscle for it, because you will have to work until retirement age. So, if you're able to do that. And so, I'm a firm believer that allowing students to have an opportunity to work is one of the ways you can set them up for success. And I'm grateful that my parents gave me that opportunity, or allowed me to have that opportunity, because I needed something to do with my time. And that's the truth. Otherwise I was just going to be sitting at home.
Yep.
And so I needed something to do with my time, and I got to make some money, which they made me use later. So they were like, you got your own money, go ahead.
And that's definitely something I also remember in high school. As soon as you start making your own money, your parents all of a sudden have nothing else for you. So I think that's something everybody can attest to. What is the biggest lesson you learned from your career journey?
Oh gosh, the biggest lesson. I would say that it's something I've heard before, but I think it's relevant, is that no job is too big or too small. We live in a world where we're so used to getting, things as we want them, right? And I think the various industries that you're probably exploring here and that we see help make our world turn around, they're there for a reason. And there are lots of people that make up those companies. And in my industry in particular, again, we have teachers, we have faculty, we have administrators, we have custodians, we have the facilities folks, we have all different types of people that help keep our lights on and help us execute our mission and our vision. And I've learned over time that just because I'm in this role does not mean that I'm better than anyone. And
say it again. Say it again. That's huge.
It is.
That's huge for anybody.
Yeah.
Just because you feel like you're doing something better than the person beside you or what have you, you're a part of the team, just like they're a part of the team.
Yes. And just because I have this degree or these degrees doesn't mean that I'm better than anyone. I had an opportunity and I did that. And that was for me because I have a specific purpose. But the person next to me who has different degrees or no degree, but has a different function, is there for a reason. And I've learned that it's important to pay attention to those people, all different types of people, but those people that you're working with very closely, because what people experience in their work environment really matters. We spend a lot of time at work. And again, I'm there 8 to 5. So I'm spending a good chunk of my time with people and they become like your work family. You don't always get to choose who those people are. And so valuing them as individuals and valuing them for what they've experienced and what they've learned and coming together to, execute the mission and the vision, that's really important. And I think being humble enough to understand that you are not the most important person in the room. And that you're there for a reason. And, and I've just tried to be sure to use my positions, as a place of encouragement and support and to help other people. And I hope I'm doing a good job of that. And I can always do better, I know. But yeah, I think it's important to just know that no job is too big or too small.
I think we should pause on that because that is very true. And I think that thought and that quote, if you will, is going to help a lot of people understand their role within the broader scheme of things and have things just be a little bit more light versus competitive. Have you ever in your career had to completely pivot? Go from one thing to something completely different?
I don't know if I had to, but I did. It's still in the same industry. So I started out in what we call student affairs. So more student facing, doing student orgs, like I mentioned, mentoring programs, leadership programming, that kind of thing. I had an opportunity to teach, and when I first got into that, after I finished grad school. So I was in the classroom pretty early, and about 6 years or so in, I got an opportunity to go to basically a different functional area of higher ed. And I would say in the field, that's definitely a pivot. So because it was not a typical move, and it's still not a typical move that you would see.
So from what to what?
So basically student affairs to academic affairs.
Okay.
An academic affairs position typically starts with someone in the classroom full time. But that was not I was only in there like part-time.
Okay.
In there. But again, more student affairs focused, student focused, programming. And that opportunity that I got was actually pretty life-changing for me, because I wouldn't be where I am now if I hadn't gotten that position, been given that opportunity. And I think one of the reasons why I got it is because I was able to relate to faculty how students experience college in a different way, not just from a classroom perspective, but what they deal with outside of the classroom, the transition to higher ed, their social environments, how they spend their time studying outside of the classroom, and being able to bring that whole picture together from a administrative standpoint. So it was not an easy transition or pivot, which is why I say it was kind of a pivot, because I had to think differently. I had to communicate differently. I was working with different people. I was working with adults versus students more. And so my interactions changed, my language changed, all of that. It was not easy, but it wasn't something I couldn't handle. And it was one of those situations where, kind of similar to studying abroad, where I put myself out there. I tried it. It actually ended up working for me. But just because it wasn't easy didn't mean that I couldn't do it. And that was something that I kind of knew. I knew about myself, but as an adult, you're like, oh, can I do this? Oh, I can do this.
I think anything that's worth having is not going to be easy. So you really have to just decide, is this something that you want to do? Is this something that you want to try? And if so, put your all into it and see if you like it. And it's cool that you realized this isn't going to be easy, but let me try it, and it worked out for you. So that's fantastic. What organizations, so we talked about earlier that you are a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. What organizations, mentors, or communities have helped you level up professionally or personally?
Definitely Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And from an undergraduate, when I joined as an undergraduate, I was a sophomore, and you join for one reason, but then you, at least for me, you end up finding out you get so much more out of it. And one of the greatest takeaways I got was learning how to be professional in an environment where the standard and the expectation is absolutely excellence. It is professionalism. It is poise. It is being respectful of yourself. It is being respectful of your community and your organization. And when you go out and you are dressed a certain way, that is what they are. That's what they see. And it was kind of that physical representation of that for me. So I learned a lot about dress. I learned a lot about protocol and timeliness, and all different kinds of things that absolutely helped me on as a professional. And I will tell you, you can tell, I don't know about you, but I can tell when I'm in a professional environment who had certain training and who did not. even if you go to dinner with people, you can tell who has had etiquette training by which fork they know to use and all of that, and who has not. And some of those things are absolutely a privilege to have. But if you have the opportunity to get some training, or someone is pouring into you and mentoring you and giving you feedback and guidance and advice, take advantage of it.
It's just such an impact to you being able to continue to move up, if that's so your desire. You know, and the cool thing about it is the next generation isn't quote unquote handcuffed like we were to the people that were in our community to teach us that. You can currently today go on YouTube or ChatGPT and figure out different components of etiquette and how to act in certain environments, and, you know, which fork you should use. All of those things are readily at your fingertips. They're not strapped like we were. So just knowing that that's out there, that's something that, you know, you don't have to wait on somebody to give you. You can very easily go out and pull that information for yourself if you want to succeed.
Yeah. And knowing that when you don't want to wait too late though, because, you know, again, in undergrad, we had opportunities to practice. You know, you go to events, you go to banquets, you go to all different types of things, types of events, and you realize, oh, well, maybe I do need to know these things. And sometimes it takes you know, I remember going to events and someone coming up to me and saying, hey, you should have maybe worn a slip with this, or, you know, slip is, it's kind of dating, you know, but you get the point. Like, oh, something about my attire isn't maybe, it could have been a little bit better. And so, you know, again, in the moment, those things can be hard to accept, but it's something I've never forgotten. And I've always, in hindsight, I took it as someone cared about me enough to not want me to be embarrassed or called out in a certain way or whatever the case may be. But when you have those opportunities to practice, you know, sometimes people don't have those opportunities. So, you know, if you're in college, go to like your career center. There are different groups and clubs, organizations. If you're going to a conference, you can go, you know, you can practice there. Just put yourself out there, because the point is to have actual skills and readiness for the real world, not in the make-believe world, but in the real world, where when you do network, you know how to handshake, you know how to ask real questions,
how to look each other in the eye when you're talking.
Exactly. You know, ask for a business card. What do you do with that business card to, you know, things like that. So to get some real practice so you can actually be successful and use it to your advantage in the future.
And, you know, it's funny that you say that, because the experience that I had in those realms, the ways that I was able to practice what I learned and what people taught me, are the different professional organizations that I was in. What advice would you give someone looking for the right professional community?
The internet, you know, the internet has all the things. LinkedIn is a good place. You know, most industries have a professional field, professional organization tie. So
engineers, accounting.
Yes. And if you are in a community of like an identity community, so a community of color or something like that, you can find an organization. So there's the NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers, or National Association of Black Accountants. In higher ed, we have our organizations as well. Those are great places to start. And typically larger organizations have sub-communities as well. So you can always find close connections there. And I think those are great places to start, because then if you do want to aspire to advanced leadership, even in those organizations where you can do service, you can start at that level and move and navigate your way up. And you know, also getting involved in groups that, you know, will help you learn skills that you maybe you are not quite adept at yet. So there's, you know, you can do training groups and all different kinds of stuff that will give you that exposure. But internet, you know, keywords, that is the beauty of today.
Absolutely.
You can put in some keywords and it'll help you kind of navigate your way into it. But then you have to take the next step and actually reach out, attend, and get involved.
Last question. What is an underrated skill that more people should develop?
I was going to say communication, but,
That's not underrated.
I know it's not underrated.
That should be at the very top.
At the very top.
Talk a little bit more about that. Because I think even though we know that it's something that's ridiculously important, no matter what industry you're in, you talk a little bit more about why communication's at the top.
We communicate in so many different ways. Speaking is one, obviously. Learning how to speak clearly, slow it down. That was something I had to learn for myself.
I'm still learning.
And yeah, I mean, but we're here, we're talking, we're engaging, and hopefully what I'm saying is coming out clearly. But again, being able to practice that is important. And taking the time to pause and think about what it is you really want to say. And I guess the reason I say communication is because sometimes we say things, so we talk so fast or we type so fast that we don't take a minute to pause and actually critically think about what it is we want to put out in the world. And even when I'm writing emails, and I'm writing emails to my division, which is large, I am very thoughtful about what it is that I'm saying. Because if I say it, if I write it, if I type it, I meant it. It's out there, but I meant it. And I'm not doing it like it's not just an offshoot. It's just it's very intentional about what it is I'm trying to say, because I'm trying to communicate something that needs to be done, that is a value that's important to what our goal and our mission is, and it's for a reason. But I think sometimes we're moving so fast that we're not taking time to actually think about what it is we want to leave out in the world. And when we put it out there, you cannot take it back. You can't take it back. And people's lives, and again, no job is too big or too small. When we say things, when we behave a certain way, we are impacting people on so many different levels, and you just never know how it's going to sit with someone. It can inspire someone, what you say, or it can leave someone really questioning who they are. And I guess I care so much about that, not for my own sake, but because I know that I'm here for a reason, and I don't want to mismanage the time that I've been given by saying something that I can't take back. And so I'm very careful with it, and it's something that's been really important to me. Also on the flip side, people have said stuff to me that I'm like, oh,
impactful,
okay. Good and bad. So it's something that's just always stuck with me, or it's been with me for a while. So yeah.
Well, Dr. Michelle Buggs, huge thank you for joining me for this episode.
Thank you for having me.
I hope everyone has gained a few valuable insights from today's episode, to where you can put it in your proverbial toolbox as you continue to ascend towards your career goals. Onward and upward. See you next time.